what's his name? The labor man is doing by bringing Abba back to life. Yes. Owerri. Okay.
Let's even leave the roads. I mean, we see the roads.
We're just trying to look for something to talk about,
Right.
Yes,
One of the major challenges when we talk about these states within the Niger Delta region will be pollution. And I mean, indigents of these communities have suffered pollution for as long as years and counting. What would you say are some of the things that have, caused for that to continue to persist even up until now? I mean, there's been several projects in trying to clean up the area. I remember having even several interviews with High Prep, for example, in the years past about, clean up projects and initiatives for the region. Still, pollution persists. Why do you think that is?
First of all, the pollution now, the activities of non-state actors is proliferating the pollution, which led to suits over running River State, whereby we led those demonstrations of 2016 and 2018, the Stop the Suit campaign. And the report based on which High Prep was that predicated the establishment of High Prep, I don't think they've updated that report. If there was an incident in this room, 10, 12 years after, if you want to use that report, I expect that you should update it to capture current reality. So that hasn't been done. And those things are there. The oil majors are leaving. They're handing over to local operators. Most of those lines are old. Non-state actors, me and you, our kids and kin, are tapping into them. There's tapping going on in the creeks. There's tapping going on offshore, where larger vessels are. So there seems to be no control of or protection of those assets. One can say it has reduced drastically, but the activities of those people are still before us. If you're going towards most of the riverine areas now, you see communities that have lost the whole of their mangrove. Yes, and these are things that help you to absorb and help to correct the anomalies that have occurred to the environment. When we did the Stop the Suit protest, one of the things we asked for clearly that we've been and we're still asking for is for an environmental audit of the region 62 years after, of the residents and the region. It is very common now in the region to see kids suffer from renal failure. If you go to dialysis centers, you see they're very busy. And today in the region, everybody you meet know at least one person who has died of cancer. Everybody you know knows somebody who is suffering from the ailment. It wasn't like that. Even if it was rather practically unknown 20 years ago, but that has changed. And there's another thing. The last weddings you attended in the region, how long did it take averagely for the family to pregnancy to come? It's a slight delay. It takes averagely, you see 2, 3, 4 years, sometimes 5 or even more. All of these are consequences of gas flaring and the activities of the hydrocarbon industry in that region. And nobody's talking about, all of us are talking about, we're just dancing on the tribal parts of it. We are supposed to, we have 3 tiers of government. Each tier has a department or agency concerned with the environment. By now, I should see a coordinated conversation whereby what the federal government says, what the state, and those conversations I expect should be instigated by the local governments, because they are the locals that, look, we need to have cleanup here. But before we clean up, this is what's going on. And and that's the situation. So once we don't have these coordinated conversations, everybody's doing what they like. And
So the question right now is, why aren't we having these coordinated conversations? I mean, we do have a commission. We have a commission that governs, supposedly, oversees that region. What are the hindrances that are stopping for these conversations to be had?
Well, we have, based on separation of powers, we have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And you have this replicated at the local, state, and federal level. And the most important of them is the legislature. They approve the budget proposals. They are supposed to oversight them. And before they come back, oversight the reception of funds. They're supposed to oversight the utilization of those funds to ensure that they're performing. And when they come back for new funding, they're supposed to do a performance review on those budgets. So if the legislature at the three levels of government are doing what they're supposed to do, conversations will have been more coordinated. But the question is, how do you vote in these people? Most times, me and you, all we think about is the governor and the president. Then you just vote because you're voting party logos, so you don't even know those who you put in. At the local government level, Constituent Assembly, at the state level, House of Assembly, at the national level, National Assembly. You don't know them. You don't know their level of education.
Well, I'm going to have to take a pause on that. We'll take a very quick break, and when we return, the conversation will continue. So please hold our thoughts. We'll take this quick break and continue the conversation in a minute.
Every person in my life deserves.
is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This
8 a.m. in focus today is the Niger Delta region outlook for 2025 and what developmental changes must be made for the new year to ensure that that region is benefiting and not just benefiting from, the giftings of their lands, but also seen to some level of, development, not just for the purpose of the oil, but for the communities and the indigents as well. Since the discovery of oil in the Niger Delta, that region has grappled with very, very significant environmental pollution that has led to the destruction of farmland, mangroves, water sources, and this has obviously led to a very, very sorry plummeting in the quality of livelihood of the people within these communities who are Nigerians as well. How can we begin to ensure that one, their livelihoods change, two, there is some level of development within the regions? We've talked about the issue of pollution, talked about the issue of bad access to good roads. I mean, the challenges are enormous, but we'll have these conversations and more. You can also be a part of the conversation. You can call in live 0700 951 0000, 0809 597 4869. On WhatsApp, it's 080 999 30137. If you do have questions as well for my guests, you can call in and ask. In recent years, there's been renewed efforts to kind of like revitalize the development within the Niger Delta. In late 2024, Dr. Samuel Ogbuku, who's the managing director of the NDDC, he announced the Commission's commitment to fast-tracking development across the 9 Niger Delta states. And this plan, obviously, he says, aligns with the President's Renewed Hope agenda, which aims to implement infrastructural projects and community empowerment initiatives. And we also saw that reflected in the budget, wherein 2.49 trillion naira was budgeted for regional development within the Niger Delta, with the NDDC obviously taking the lead in Northwest, Southwest, taking lion's share of that monies within the budget. My guest is Mr. Eugene Abels, who is a Niger Delta stakeholder, and he was one of the people who championed the Stop the Soot cycle campaign in Port Harcourt, River State at the time, where the soot was a major environmental hazard at the time as a result of, gas flaring, etc. Talking about the budgets that has been we've talked about this during the review of the budget, 2025 budget in December last year. There were conversations as to how these monies, especially the monies budgeted for the region, Niger Delta region, would be used in terms of development in the region. Do you have faith? Are you positive, that 2.49 trillion naira will see to some level of development within these 9 states in the Niger Delta region?
The question is, will they get it? That's the question. Yeah, statutorily, I know that the NDDC gets theirs is statutorily, so I think it comes from like a first line charge,
right,
something like that. You don't just have only the NDDC, you have the sorry, excuse me.
Sorry.
You have the Ministry of Niger. Used to have. Now we have the South Development Commission.
Yes.
We used to have Ministry of Niger.
Yeah, they scrapped that already.
Yes, like some months ago. We have the Niger Delta River Basin Authority. Then we have the statutory ministries, agencies, and departments, which are federal in nature, which are also represented in each state. So they're in the region. Then you have the budgets for community development in the IOCs and for places where they operate from. Then you have supports that are coming from, then you have agencies like HiPrep and the rest of them, which also have funding. Now, for those that are within the Nigerian, accountable to Nigeria, are they able to get 100% funding? I doubt. So from whatever they get, they manage themselves. But like, I remembered when the beginning of the Fourth Republic, the South governors used to have the peer review conversation, but I don't think they do that anymore. What I'm saying here is that our leadership selection process is flawed. Me and you, we are responsible for it, because we have, today when we vote for people who are supposed to oversight these public institutions, who are supposed to fund them, If you are not educated, how do you discuss budget in National Assembly, or the House of Assembly, or at the constituent level? How do you discuss it? If you're not educated, how do you make laws? So we should expect, but me and you will just vote the party insignia. After our interest is the president and governor. Once we do that, we'll just vote this one. Because you don't even see their photographs, they don't debate, you don't know their qualifications, you don't know their pedigree and so on. And those are the people who are supposed to manage these issues for us. The House of Assembly at the state level, the Constituent Assembly at the local government level, and the National Assembly at the federal level. If they are living up to their billing, before they're talking about the 2.4 trillion, you see, they're going to ask every agency to account, first of all, did you get your money? Why didn't if you didn't get it, they query the executive. Yes, if the executive will need to explain why they didn't get, and if what you got, what did you use it for? Performance review comes in. Then you're measuring. You're measuring the federal institutions, you're measuring the state institutions, and you're measuring local government institutions. But all of this don't happen. You're paying people's salary, and they're there, they do it the way they like, and sometimes they have disagreements, it gets into the news. You always hear about the budget at the level when they start having disagreements in the National Assembly. That's what you hear. Have you ever heard anything happening at the state level? No. Have you heard happening at local government level? No. I think once in Omoko, but I think they sorted it out. Now, what about the budgeting process? We budget as if we're colonial masters. We budget from the top down instead of budget from bottoms up. For instance, you can imagine, you might think that Sabah needs a dual carriageway. Maybe all they need is a borehole. But if you go and meet the people and sit down with the people and ask them what they need, you'll be amazed that you save a lot of money and do what they actually add value to them. For instance, if you're dealing with an agri community, you might be thinking of building a skyscraper for them. All they probably want is a road to move their produce.
And that brings light to what you mentioned earlier about, community engagement. That has been a challenge, seeing that they are not part of, the key decision-making process. How do you think that gap can be bridged to ensure that, instead of, like you said, making these decisions and creating these budgets from the top to bottom, we're having these key engagements, from the bottom up?
We, the people, are responsible. And we've even developed the psychic as if the government belongs to the office holder. They are our employees. We're supposed to make demands on them and insist on what we want done. They are our employees. If recently we saw the Ogoni people at the villa, they were not invited because they were in love with them. They were invited because they refused to allow oil production to go on there. Yes, and so they are putting conditions on the table. And that's what we're supposed to do for every facet of life, like it used to be in the past, yeah. But today, everybody's scared. You're scared of your council chairman, you're scared of your governor, you're scared of the federal level. If you ask a question, they say you're against the government. Somebody must be against the government. As long as we need to ask the questions and insist on the right things to be done.
Now, there's been issues of insecurity as well impacting on the region across these 9 states. There's been issues of militancy, especially, and some level of insecurity. What measures or possible solutions would you suggest in tackling that challenge within these regions? Would you say that they are localized, as it were, or could there be some kind of intervention from the government in tackling that issue?
In the region, in Niger Delta region, we're on holidays. We're not. Insecurity has moved to the southeast, northeast, north central. We've dashed them. It's for them.
Interesting.
Niger Delta is a microcosm of Nigeria. And what has come to be and has come to stay is that there's a carryover of the military era, whereby we don't think it necessary to audit what our security agencies do. It's about loyalty. all about loyalty. And two, as a fallout of the insecurity, strong men are being created in the localities all over the country. The Niger Delta is not an exception. Everybody's borrowing that model. Yeah, so you have strong men all over the place. And these strong men make a demand on the system, and they get the things they need to get. And so if we continue the way we are going, we're not going to get results.
Now, who should be held accountable?
Leadership.
When we say leadership, it's vague. I mean, we have a commission, for example, the Niger Delta Developmental Commission for different regions now, as we have them.
And we have the basin river, 27 river basin authorities in the various
states.
Yes.
So why is no one being held accountable?
Because me and you have refused to make a demand on the system, informed demand. You're believing that they own the country. They don't. So it's almost like state capture. We're not making demand. You were not around then. Back in the days, the likes of late Ganifa, late Dr. Becker and some Kuti, Bala Usman, Patrick Wilmot, Aisha Mohammed, there were people, they will insist. They taxed the military. Even then, in military, you're there. The military, you're not supposed to ask them questions back in the days, but people insisted. Even the judges refused to take some of their cases. So we, the people, we need to come to that angels will not come down to Nigeria to change things for us. We need to engage and ask questions and insist. If we didn't do the Stop the Suit campaign, we will be here today. Right. We won't, because when we started, one party, then PDP was the government. PDP said APC were sponsoring. APC said that PDP were sponsoring us. But along the line, everybody who accused us of being partisan came and became a campaigner for Stop the Suit. They all wanted to be on television, so they all came.
All right, let's quickly take this call, and then we'll probably wrap the conversation up. Good morning. Hello, are you there? Okay, can't seem to hear a thing. This number has been calling since time immemorial. Do well to call back if you would like to ask a question or be part of the conversation. We have a few comments here that we'll take shortly. Let's see. This one here says, good morning. The Nigerian government needs to do something in the Niger Delta to reduce the pollution in the region. They cannot fish or farm anymore. Oludade Abiodun sent that one in. Good morning.
Auntie Gabriellla.
Yes, good morning.
This is Comrade Sam from the city here.
Welcome, Sam. Go ahead.
I want to appreciate your guest. They have spoken well. The issue is between leadership, coordinating the issue, and the corruption. These are the major issues. And again, we always allow them to have their way. There's no problem. Then governors use one strategy. They'll be lying to the citizens that this one belongs to NDC. They will do it. This one belongs to this one. They will do it. Leaving their own responsibility. Just like you are there said, they're supposed to go to community and know what the community needs. All those commissions. They call that it was Minister a long way. Yes, off your mic. Because he was trying to reveal that these people, we have been sharing this money together, not only me. So they still boils down on corruption and coordination.
All right. Thank you very much. Corruption still a major factor when it comes to issues like this, especially bordering around the Niger Delta. Still coming back to what you were saying before we did that. Sadly, our time is almost up and we need to wrap up shortly. So are you saying that we need people who will rise up within these states to demand of, some level of accountability? Are people not complaining? I mean, there's been conversations about people within these communities who come out to complain, about the fact that they're excluded from, decision making and, the the development that needs to take place within their regions are not being taken. The cleanups that need to happen have not happened. Community members have, come out to complain every now and then in pockets. So are you saying there needs to be more done in that aspect?
Exactly. And if you do it, it's a microcosm of Nigeria. We're shaking our responsibility as the electorate. And we pay their salaries. We employ them, pay their salaries, then we allow them to tell us what to do. No, we give them targets. And if you don't do it, we shut down the system. Yes, and if you think people complain when you talk, you don't have to be violent.
Right, because when it comes to things like this, the first thing that comes to mind is, some violent,
and if you're violent, so what? Every generation is faced with its own challenges. At the time, it was colonialism. At the time, it was the Warren chiefs in Ibaba that made those women to demonstrate. At the time, it was the British traders that made, like my king, King Koko, them, and King Jaja, them, to resist them and insist that they needed things to be run right, not for them to become... for them to be bypassed in the trade. If you don't make a demand for yourself, whatever you see, you take it. You expect your employee to plan your life. No, you tell him, I'm employing you because this is what we want. If you pay your child's fees and leave him at the school gate, he might not go into the school. And in Nigeria, abroad, they'll tell you that any crime that has more than 3 or 4 people, it's not possible. In Nigeria, 200 people will do a crime and to remain concealed. If you don't observe, if you don't interrogate, if you don't demand, you're about going for another election. Everybody is talking of INEC, forgetting that INEC is the only organization in the whole of the world that uses public funds to render a service, then tells you to go to court to account for it. You should account for her service. We're sick.
Mr. Eugene Abels, it's been a pleasure having this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Sadly, our time is up. Any final thoughts as we wrap up?
We need to begin to think properly, because there's so many things that are misnomers. How can you admit somebody to university with a JAMB score of 150? All right. When I went to university in 1982 with 265 to read a social science course, and you're competing globally. Our interrogation process is sick. Let's stop it.
Mr. Eugene Abels, thank you so much once again. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have further conversations with our guests. Don't go away.
Wake up to us. Go to bed with us. All day and through the night. On your Let's Talk station, 95.1 Nigeria Info. This
is Nigeria Info.